Is the pandemic good or bad for the spirits industry? Liquor stores were considered an essential business at the start of the lockdown, but at the same time, we saw restaurants and hotels were shut down, decimating sales of alcohol. Almost 2 years into COVID now, a trend is emerging this holiday season in which more Americans are opting for no or low alcoholic beverages. So here now to tell us what he sees in global spirit consumption is Bacardi Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer, Tony Latham. Tony, welcome to Quicktake.
Thanks, Scarlett. How are you?
Good, good. I want to go back to my first rhetorical question to you. Has the pandemic been good or bad for your industry?
As you mentioned, prior to the pandemic, we represent about 30% of our revenue from the on-premise, from bars, restaurants, nightclubs, sporting venues. Obviously, as you mentioned, that industry was decimated by COVID. So I would say by and large, the pandemic has not been good for the industry, the hospitality industry in general. We did see people switch their consumption moments from those on-premise outlets to increasing their consumption on home. But I certainly wouldn't say it's been good for us or our industry.
Got it. Okay, so on the whole, it has not been good, but people are changing the way that they consume their drinks. So let's fast forward to December 2021, because it's the season for holiday parties. So I'm a little surprised to hear of this trend of no or low alcoholic beverages taking hold. Fill us in on how that's changing the way, once again, people are consuming their drinks.
Well, health and wellness has been a major trend that's been evolving for a number of years now. It's impacted many industries, and the alcoholic beverage industry is no different. People are looking to consume in moderation. We're seeing people consume better quality, more super premium categories and brands as well. But we're responding to that. We're responding to that with our innovation. We're launching multiple low alcohol and no alcohol brands into the marketplace. In fact, Grey Goose Essences, which I've got just here, is a lower alcohol content brand, and we've launched that in the last 9 to 12 months. It's been one of our most successful innovations. So the key for us is to respond to what the consumers are asking for.
Got it, got it. So how does that break down for your sales? You mentioned that people are perhaps opting for more premium products. What does that mean for your lineup?
Well, we're very happy with the portfolio that we've got. Our portfolio skews towards super premium brands like Grey Goose, Tequila Patron, Angel's Envy, American Whiskey, Douce Cognac, etc. So we feel very well positioned with the trend to super premium consumption at the moment.
What kind of drinks are out of favor as a result, or is there just less consumption of that as people switch over for now, as opposed to a permanent shift?
I wouldn't call that any one category as being out of favor at the moment. Again, what we're seeing trends towards super premium. Vodka seems to be back, which is great for our Grey Goose brand. Tequila is a very hot category at the moment. Cognac and all whiskeys are in hot demand at the moment. We've also introduced a range of ready-to-drink or premium prepared cocktails, as we prefer to call them, again, which provides the convenience and portability for consumers across categories. So we're seeing great growth in our premium prepared cocktails. I've got some Bacardi and Bombay Sapphire examples here in front of me.
Yeah, meeting consumers where they are right now. You know, as we talk about this trend towards wellness and people perhaps opting for low or no alcoholic beverages, we've also seen dry January become a real thing over the last couple of years. I don't remember it being something that people talked about before 2012 or so, but really now this idea of abstaining from excesses following all the end of the year celebrations. Why do you think this is? What do you think is so compelling about this idea now?
As you mentioned, it's been around for nearly a decade now, but certainly gaining in popularity. I think that mega trend of health and wellness and people being more aware of embracing that trend has certainly been an impact there. But again, we're looking to capitalize on that by having offerings that allow people to either enjoy in moderation during that period or abstain in total with some of our no and low alcohol offerings. So we don't think that's going to be a major new development this particular year. Distinct from the recent previous years.
Yeah, just building on this emerging trend overall. All right, well, one thing that has become a big issue over the last 2 years, especially since the start of COVID, is supply chain challenges. Where do you see the shortages as most acute?
Yeah, there's a couple of elements to the supply chain challenges. First of all, actually getting supply of products. I have to say that our global supply chain group has done a phenomenal job in keeping most of our products in supply throughout the pandemic. long-term strategic relationships with suppliers, keeping our factories up and running, etc. So that's been a good thing for us. The other thing, of course, that we're seeing is inflation starting to come through.
So we talked a little bit earlier about how prices are rising for all kinds of food products and drink products, and Bacardi is no exception as well. Talk a little bit about the price increases that you've instituted over the past year and the range of increases you've put in.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned earlier, it's key that you look at pricing through a strategic lens, and different brands, different categories, different markets are impacted very differently by the inflationary pressures. And so we look at that through a quite a detailed, sophisticated lens to make sure that we're taking pricing where our cost base is impacted the most and where we feel our brands have the equity to accommodate that. I would say, on average, we've taken pricing of around 3% over the last 12 months, and we're constantly reviewing that. Again, it's very important to look at that at a category and market and price tier level. Most of the inflation we've seen to date has largely been on logistics and distribution. We're starting to see inflation come through on raw materials and packaging and on labor. So we expect greater inflationary impacts as we head into next calendar year.
And how long do you wait before you decide to start raising prices because of raw material costs and because of labor costs?
It depends on the market, depends on the competitive context, the retailer environment. But again, we're monitoring this very, very closely, and our teams are on the ball, and we're taking pricing when we feel it's both necessary and that the consumers are prepared to accept it.
Got it. Before we go, I do want to ask you, because you're at your drink station right now, what is your #1 recommended cocktail as we get ready to celebrate the start of another new year?
Well, it's a great question. There's a lot of kind of festive partying going on at the moment. We feel the Grey Goose Martini is back. It's having a renaissance moment at the moment. So martinis made with Grey Goose are really flying at the moment. And then the Angel's Envy Old Fashioned is another popular drink, particularly in the colder climates. So we're seeing lots of uptake on both those at the moment.
Grey Goose Martini and an Old Fashioned. Love it. Thank you so much. Bacardi CFO Tony Latham joining us here.